Now, I'm very glad that I got all that dirty talking out of the way before being joined by my gracious, fragrant guest, Kim Iversen, host of The Kim Iversen Show and one of the finest roses that ever adorned this studio on our 500th. Let's welcome Kim Iversen. Kim, I spoke very low stuff earlier about the Epstein affair. I shan't do it in front of you, but the tumbling dice is now a torrent, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think the big question we should ask is why this is coming out now. You know, there's definitely a lot that has come out, and this is clearly why the administration was trying to hide things for so long. But I think a big question is why? Why now?
Yes, well, it's bipartisan, isn't it? Like most things in the United States, both parties stand for exactly the same things, and they're peopled by exactly the same kind of scoundrels.
That's what it looks like. And right now we have Democrats trying to expose the Republicans. I'm hoping that Republicans turn around and try to expose the Democrats that are involved in this, and then maybe we'll get everybody. But it's definitely, the Epstein saga and everything. This was definitely everybody. Everybody was involved, clearly.
The big danger, Kim, for the world, because after all, this is partly a domestic American affair, and whilst we can be amused or horrified or both by it, it's ultimately your business that you are governed by scoundrels. We have our own scoundrels that we are yet to take care of. But the big danger for the world is a Wag the Dog moment. I mean, if Bill Clinton killed a friend of mine, the finest Arab woman painter in the Arab world, Suad al-Attar, in order to divert attention from a stain on Monica Lewinsky's dress, what on earth might Donald Trump do to divert our attention from much bigger stains?
Well, a lot of people have died. In this Epstein saga, a lot of people have. They're suspiciously dead. They've of course said that they've committed suicide, from Epstein to Jean-Luc Brunel to Virginia Giuffre. There's a lot of people who are now gone, and that have been a part of this. So certainly, I think that there's so many different people involved, so many governments involved. It's not just the United States that got swept up in this scandal. It's looking like that this was heads of state from a variety of different nations, and it speaks. The biggest issue on this is what kind of leverage was the Epstein scandal, which I don't know what you think, but I think a lot of people think at this point that Epstein was working for Mossad, that he was working for this or the state of Israel in some way. Maybe he was also working for the CIA, which at this point one must question if the CIA is that different from Mossad. Are they the same, one and the same, just with different names? Not really sure. But certainly I think there's a lot of questions about what kind of leverage they've had over the United States government and over governments around the world. I mean, Israel has received a lot of support from all around the world, and now this is looking like there's been a lot of blackmail. I mean, we're seeing in these emails a lot of different leaders, from prime ministers of Israel to United States presidents to or would-be presidents. At the time that a lot of the stuff happened, Donald Trump was not president. But they clearly had hopes for him to be, or somebody in a position of power. And, we're ambassadors to Turkey. I mean, we're seeing all kinds of different leaders involved, and it's a giant scandal. I just don't know what anyone's going to do about it. I mean, like you said, if a president can get away with whatever he can get away with, then with knowing all of this, what does that mean for us? What are we going to do about this?
Well, I agree with you, Kim, that there's a supranational dimension to this. I mean, it turns out I've not read 26,000 emails or even all of the first tranche, but I've read enough to realize that Epstein was a very powerful and important man. I had seen him as a kind of sordid spiv, like a spider at the center of a web. And of course, he was all of that, but he was much more than that. This was a man on heads of state level, a level I've never been at, 50 years of politics, a level you have not yet been at. Epstein was for years at that level. He could contact the President of France, he could contact the royal family in the United Kingdom, the prime ministership in Israel, and anybody who was anybody in the United States, including some very odd and strange people, like Professor Noam Chomsky, with whom he seems to have had a completely bizarre and bizarrely close relationship.
Yeah, I think that it's also important to remember, as we see names that are dropped and implicated and associated with Epstein, that clearly this was an operation to get into the social circles that Epstein was obviously able to get into. So clearly he was trying to gain as many powerful and influential friends as possible, and then hopefully compromise them so that they would do the bidding of whichever government Epstein was working for at the time, whether it be the state of Israel, maybe the United. I don't know. There's some suspicion that he was working for multiple intelligence agencies, certainly, but trying to gather all of these really powerful people. But I think it's important to remember that just because he was rubbing shoulders with people or had a close relationships with them, that he might have been unsuccessful in getting anything on them. But I think what's more powerful, and what I've seen in the Black Book, what I've seen in what we've seen in some of the testimony, is that Epstein was able to get to the family members of powerful people. So what is very powerful is, whether or not Trump had, let's say, any nefarious activity with Epstein. I mean, certainly there's enough stuff that's pointing out that he did. He's denying it. They're saying it's a Democrat hoax. But even if he didn't, I think if you could just get one of the kids, right? If you could get one of the boys to misbehave, and you've got that blackmail, the parents will do anything for their children. A lot of people will say, okay, you could do whatever to me and you could expose me, that's whatever. But the minute you say, okay, yeah, but we got your kid, that changes the game for a lot of people. And I think Epstein was trying to gather as much influence as possible. So even if he tried to, even if he was cozy with somebody, I don't know what his relationship was with Noam Chomsky. And certainly if he had a very close relationship with him, we should all be suspicious. But maybe he was, suspicion is just one thing. Maybe he wasn't able to actually get him in any compromising situation. But what about a family member? Is that once you make friends with somebody, then you get introduced to their family members, and maybe you could compromise one of them, and that's just as effective, if not more effective at times. So but then you got to ask yourself, what would he want to do? What would be his purpose, right?
Yeah. No, I don't mean to suggest that Chomsky was getting massages. It's different strokes for different folks. It's a matter of record.
No pun intended.
That no pun intended. It's a matter of fact, and has been actually for a year or so, that Epstein gave Noam Chomsky what for him was not a lot of money, but for most people would be a lot of money, $200,000, and gave him stimulating conversation, taught him a lot of things that Chomsky didn't know about the intricacies of the world's financial system, of hedge funds and all of that paraphernalia. And I'm sure that was sufficient to attract the company of Noam Chomsky. Others, it's easier to see that money and sex, or both, would be enough. You didn't need the intelligent conversation. But this, I think, dovetails into the Donald Trump story, because Donald Trump reputedly has no need of money and had no need of sex, because it would appear that he's been very busy on that front virtually all of his life, as you would imagine, given the life that he has led. And yet, it's clear from the emails so far that Trump's relationship with Epstein long outlasted the time frame that Trump himself had put on it. He said he cut Epstein off, I think 2008, but there's emails that say that Epstein was in Trump Tower in 2017. And it's unlikely he was in Trump Tower, but not with Donald Trump, just shopping in the mall. Therefore, the enduring nature of the Epstein-Trump relationship hints at something else, hints at the fact that they were in league together or were inseparable somehow because of their joint past.
Right. There's definitely been some tales told to us when it comes to Trump and his relationship with Epstein, because you're right. He said, I cut the guy off, but then Epstein wrote in his emails, basically, what does he mean he cut me off? I was never a member of Mar-a-Lago. And saying things like he knew about the girls because he asked Ghislaine to stop. So he knew that Ghislaine was recruiting young girls, underage girls. He asked her to stop. I guess that's better than going along with it. I mean, that's a little bit in Trump's favor. But what it shows is he didn't know about it. He can't actually act like he didn't know about it. And yeah, he continued to have a relationship and even spent Thanksgiving with Epstein at one point. So there was very much a relationship there that Donald Trump has not wanted people to really know about. He wanted people to just think that he'd cut him off. That is not really true in any of the senses that Trump's talking about. But again, I do think that there must be something is on Donald Trump. I think any of us looking at what Donald Trump has been doing for the state of Israel would objectively say they got something on the guy. What is it? I don't know. Yeah. Is it sexual stuff? Like you said, why would it be? I mean, he seemed to have no problem in that arena and he was doing whatever he wanted to do. Why would he need Epstein's help in that? I don't think he needed that. Was it financial? Maybe. I mean, part of Epstein's emails that we discovered is that he said that he was talking about trying to dig into Trump's mortgages, some of his finances, where some money came from when it came to casino. So maybe he was able to get some dirt on him financially that would be more threatening to Donald Trump than, some sex with somebody. I mean, even Epstein said in one of his emails that one of his 20-year-old girlfriends he had given to Donald Trump a couple of years later, I guess. But she would have been of age. She would have been an adult. So there's nothing really, there's no story there. But there's perhaps some financial blackmail that could take his entire empire and his money down and cause him to go bankrupt, Bernie Madoff style. And that could be that is quite threatening to somebody, more so than, you caught me on tape. That none of those sexual things have taken Donald Trump down or even made him really flinch. But maybe financial stuff would. And there was some implication there that perhaps they had dug into his finances and compromised him that way. There's a possibility.
Yes, I agree with that. There's always the possibility, and I've felt it for a long time, that Donald Trump was not nearly as rich as he liked to pretend he was. And he's, of course, got much richer now in the last 10 months than he was before, but there's always that possibility. Kim, in the time left to us, when I mentioned Wag the Dog, top of my fears at the moment is an American invasion of Venezuela. The task force which Trump has dispatched there from the Department of War, as it's now called, is now so vast, it's a bit grand old Duke of York. He's marched 10,000 men up to the top of the hill. Is he really going to march them down again, or is he going to launch them into Venezuela? What's your feeling about that?
I don't know how he thinks 10,000 men could invade a country. They've got millions of people, and I don't know what he's doing with that. That is really bizarre to me. You'd need a lot more than 10,000, certainly. So what is the goal? What is the end game there? On this one, I am stumped. I really do not know what the point is of these 10,000 men. You cannot go into Venezuela with 10,000 men. What can you do with 10,000 men? I mean, you could hope that maybe there would be some internal chaos, that there would be internal disruption, that Maduro would be taken down, and then maybe use the 10,000 to assist in the fleeing migrants that would be inevitable in that situation. I guess maybe to stop what else can you do with 10,000 men? The only thing I can think of is to stop people who are trying to flee Venezuela after you create chaos, to stop them from coming into your country and maybe turning them back around. Otherwise, you can't do anything with 10,000 men. That's the only thing you can do with them.